Hello and welcome to this exploring session, part 2 of our exploration of this play by William Wagger, The Longer Thou Livest, the More Fool Thou Art, printed around 1569 and dated any time in the previous 10 years or so. William has written a few plays, two of which, or at least texts of which we have looked at before. So if you'd like to go back and have a little look at other plays by William, we have looked at The Trial of Treasure, which has been attributed to him, and we've looked at a possibly by him fragmentary play, The Cruel Debtor. That's on the podcast. Trial of Treasure is on the YouTube channel. I actually went back yesterday to have a little look at The Trial of Treasure, because I was a little dismissive in my introduction about the play and in our recollection of it, and actually it's a lot closer to what we've been doing today than I had a memory of, so it's actually quite instructive and interesting. He said, to continue our journey into this play, The Longer Thou Livest, the More Fool Thou Art, the operative term fool there perhaps being more important than we actually assumed when we started reading it the other day. We have this crack team to try and uncover what's going on. So returning for more punishment, reading Exercitacion, Wrath, Crueltie, and God's Judgement is...
Hello, I'm Greg, and tonight I shall be channeling my inner Brian Blessed.
Remember to lean back. Reading Moros and Fortune is...
I am Steve Longstaffe. I'm a scholar of early modern drama based in Lancaster in the UK.
And reprising the roles of Pietie, Idlenesse, Ignorance, and the People is...
Hello, I'm Ruth Evans. I'm a specialist in late medieval English literature, and I'm based in St. Louis, Missouri.
And finally, joining us today for some discipline, incontinency, impiety, and some confusion is...
Aliki, Chapple. I'm an actor and translator, occasionally writer, originally from Greece, and also based in Lancaster in the UK.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading or trying to hunt for the stage directions. The text we're working from is not fully formatted. This is a bit of a rush job. So there may be some lines of dialogue which are in fact actually stage directions. And there are quite a few instances where we do not have entrances and exits. So I'm going to be hunting and trying to leap in sometimes when there's clearly a point of exit and entrance. The story so far, it's a little indescribable in certain ways. In many ways, it's very simple. It's about the education of Moros, you could say. This individual who is trying to be taught by discipline and various other, shall we say, good people in the opening of the play, and then he is introduced to the forces of wrath, idleness, and incontinency, who introduce him to gambling and the inevitable sex worker. So it's something about early modern plays of this period that seems obsessed with doing that with young men. And there are other complications which we'll go into as we go, but I do advise, if you are leaping into this video without watching the first half, really go back and watch that, because context here is quite important. But without further ado, we're going to go into the text. And so we've had all the characters exit the stage, and we're introduced to a new character who we have not met before. Enter Fortune.
No God's mercy, no reverence, no honour, no cap off, no knee bowed, no homage. Who am I? It's no more good manner, I trow. You know not me, nor my lineage. I tell you, I rule and govern all. I advance, and I pluck down again of him that of birth is poor and small. As a nobleman I can make to reign. I am she that may do all things in heaven or earth, who is like to me. I make captives of lords and kings. Captives or fools I make kings to be. No courtesy yet for all this power. I tell you, learned men call me a goddess. A beggar I make rich in an hour. To such as I love, I give good success. Who in this world can we withstand? Who can say yea when I say nay? I change all in the turning of a hand. Whatsoever I will do, do it I may. Have I done nothing for any here? Have I not one lover, nor friend, none to welcome me with a merry cheer? Now by my troth, you be unkind. Well, I may chance some to displease. I purpose to dally and play a feat, which shall turn some to small ease. A popish fool will I place in a wise man's seat. By that you shall learn, I trow, to do your duty to a lady so high. Shall teach you fortune to know, and to honour her till you die.
It is a world to see the fool's greediness. I have noozled him in carnality. Oh, a man would marvel to see his readiness unto all fleshly sensuality. And these harlots are not to learn how to dally with a simple fool. I may lead him with a thread of yarn into the midst of a whirlpool. He prayed me hither to decline, and I look diligently about. He is afraid of discipline and of exercitation, no doubt. Neither of them both can I see. I will return, and bear him word, a glad that man then will Moros be, for them he feareth more than the sword.
And the stage direction reads, Symbol a going out.
Whither now, sirrah? Are you blind? Am I so little a mote that you cannot see? I will pluck down your high mind, and cause you, I trow, to know me.
I cry you mercy, lady most excellent. Without doubt, I did not your honour behold. Oh, empress. Oh, goddess omnipotent. I render you praises manifold.
Well, at this time I hold you excused. Glad to see you do your duty so well. If all other had themselves so used, it'd been better for them, to you I may tell. I trow your name is Incontinencie, one of the properties of Moros.
I see him given to insolency, and I further him in that purpose. Lechery is to fools connatural. Wise men thereof are ever ware, for they see such uses bestial bring men to infamy, shame, and care.
How vile soever he be in condition, how foolish soever and incipient, how full of pride soever and ambition, how lecherous soever and incontinent, 'tis notwithstanding our pleasure to exalt him in honour and riches. We'll give him laud, wealth, and treasure, and in all things therewith good success. He loveth women, I will give him plenty. Loveth gay raiment, meats and drinks fine. Of raiment he shall have shifts 20, store of venison, wild fowl, bread and wine. Moros shall lack nothing for a season. They shall see that fortune can exalt fools, who shall nurture men of wit and reason and make them glad to learn their schools. Seeing that the vulgars will not me praise for exalting good men and sapient, I'll get me a name in other ways, and that is by erecting fools incipient.
Please it you give me license a few verse of a poet to recite?
I will gladly hear the poet's sentence, whereas against me he doth not write.
Sed redeo ad stultus, quod quando extollit and alto, collocat in soleo cupiens, fortuna iocari. O quod stultitis tunc omnia plena videbis. I come now to speak of fools again, with whom when it pleaseth fortune to play, she extolleth and maketh to reign, ye and to them wise men to obey. Oh, that with how many follies shalt thou see all things filled and replenished, which to rehearse long it would be. Yet of the poet they be published. Dishonesty mightily triumpheth than virtuesque movet contempta cacinum. Virtue is mocked of every man. Then of whores and harlots there is no small sum. Nothing but eating, drinking, and play, only voluptuousness, foolish and filthy, increaseth more and more day by day, and hath the rule in realm and city.
And as the poet writeth, so shall it be. With Moros we will take such an order, that all things which for his pleasure he shall see, so let him command in every border. You know where Moros we shall find. We command you to lead us to the place, and forasmuch as you occupy his mind, so teach him to know our noble grace. For before that he doth again appear, another manner of person we will him make. Yea, and we will cause all persons, far and near, as a worthy gentleman him to take.
If it will please your grace to walk, I will bring you whereas Moros is.
Come, wait upon me. And by the way, we will talk. I shall see wonders after this.
And they both go out, and we'll just pause there. Several little interesting things there. I like how Fortune does the "Don't you know who I am" opening gambit of, you know, nobody's responding to me in the way they should. Let's try that again. It's I'm very glad that I did review Trial of Treasure again, because there's some very similar elements here. You know, Fortune, a female character, is very similar to the character of either Trust or Treasure in the certainly of Treasure. So this idea of money being given a female form and having an association in this play, and that which is quite similar. What's their plan precisely to do with Moros? I got a little lost in the detail beyond that makes it, is it they want to pretend he's of a higher station and in life?
Yeah, I think so. Where Fortune says that she's going to bestow all these good things on Moros to make it seem as if he's of a much higher station in life. And, you know, the erecting fool's incipient to turn someone who has no wisdom whatsoever into somebody that's set up high. But presumably with the idea that he'll be brought down as well, because that's what Fortune does.
Mm.
It's a bit peevish, though, isn't it? Because if Fortune says she's going to do this because nobody recognises her, she goes, right, okay, I'll show you then.
Mm.
Right.
You watch. I will make, you know, a popish fool or whatever. I will do this for you, and then you will treat me like the celebrity I truly am. You know, I can imagine somebody kind of fairly haughtily blinged up doing this. You know, It's kind of like, don't you know who I am?
Mm. Well, it's and there's a sort of flirty bit as well in the middle of, you know, where you're sort of tussling the hair of someone in the audience, kind of thing. As there's sort of lots of business with that opening address, as well as what's going on between Fortune and Incontinencie. Because Incontinencie, he does play the game a bit, you know. Oh, Empress, oh, Goddess, you know. This is how you are supposed to be addressed, is it? And it's just that well, at this time I hold you excused. You know, I'll let you off. So yes, we have a plan for where the story goes next. Incontinencie is still the same actor who does all the Latin.
Which, you know, must be nice for people who know Latin.
Well, I mean, there were a few crumbs thrown out there. So some of the text is sort of reiterated in the following lines, if not
I
in
assumed so, but
detail.
I couldn't tell when I was reiterating text and when I was going further. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit beyond my level, I'm afraid. But yeah, it seems to be that character, that actor seems to be getting the bulk of the Latin. So it seems like he whoever that is, likes doing the Latin.
Fun, thanks. Good to know.
There might be less. There might be less. Any additional thoughts at this time before we move deeper into the story? Because that's sort of a little setup scene for presumably what's going to happen next. Now, we had a little discussion in advance because we are missing almost all the entrance cues here. So we were debating whether this is said by Pietie. We're going to assume the next exchange is Pietie who enters first, and Roth will enter in a moment. So go Pietie.
I am come hither now to complain, not only to see this fool thus to miscarry, which virtuous discipline doth disdain, and to honesty is contrary, but also of a great multitude which despise God and his counsel, as though there were no beatitude, no torments for sin with devils in hell. I can say no more of piety than I have said a little before, which is to serve God's majesty, the same to love, to fear, to honour. But now, alas, what manners, what heavy times! Piety is utterly extinguished. What contempt is there? What crimes? More mischief than can be published. And as God's majesty is despised, so the love among men doth abate. Never was there greater hatred devised than is among men of every estate. What falsehood, what deceit and guile, what subtleties are of men invented, who doth not his body with sin defile, who is with his own state contented. I have read of many worlds and seasons, of so sinful a world did I never read. About mischief men occupy their reasons. None other thing nowadays is in their head. Yet God hath some good people, I dare say, which pray devoutly, fast and abstain, and call upon him night and day, the wickedness of our times to restrain. And I doubt not, for his own name's sake, he will subvert the works of sin, which he grants shortly to slake, and that virtue the victory may win.
You're muted, sir, I'm afraid.
I was being so careful to make sure I wasn't. Ha 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 ha! I must laugh to see fortune's dalliance. Lord, how she have this fool enhanced! The sport is to see his countenance. This wealth have to him strangely chanced, but they say that fools are fortunable. It appeareth to be the true now indeed. Fortune hath made a fool honourable, and like more in honour to proceed. Now am I sent officers to seek impiety, cruelty, and ignorance. I must trudge about all this week, not a little unto my hindrance.
Such a master, such servants indeed. Oh, what a plague is it evermore when virtuous men have evil speed and fools have ease, wealth, and honour. Have we not had manifest probation? Have not men of God been put to silence? And such fools in whom was no good disputation, but altogether with cruelty gave they sentence.
Thou art one of them for whom I seek, not for thy honour, but for thy decay. I have commandment to chop thee as a leek, if thou wilt not get thee away. Wherefore he ruled by my counsel, come no more unto Moros company, for both with shame we will expel and put thee also to villainy.
Better it is to meet a she-bear when she is robbed of her whelps, than with a fool that rule doth bear. For another reason nor learning will be his helps.
No more words, but get thee away at once. I am wrath, sun kindled and set on fire. Speak one word, and I will break thy bones, and tread thee down here in the mire. Yea, I advise thee, lo, what wrath can do to place wrath, to wrath place to give he is glad. To fools many are glad to lean to, for fear of their rage when they are made. Yonder cometh one that I seek for. I am deceived, if it not be the same, as he were blind about he doth paw. Ignorance, I suppose, his name.
Is there anybody here in this place? I am sent for in all the haste I ween. I am commanded to come away apace. They will marvel where so long I have been.
Whither should you go, I pray you, friend, and who is it that for you did send?
Lady Fortune did tell me her mind, and to speak with Moros I do intend.
To tarry here, if you will take the pain, Moros will come hither anon. Where Impietie is, I would know fain, and where I should speak with him alone.
Crueltie, Impietie, and I were coming, all three together. I think verily that they are passed by, and gone even the right way thither.
What are their names when they come there? What do you call impiety?
Philosophy, his name is everywhere. Crueltie, prudence, and I, antiquity.
Very well, I am glad of this indeed. By reason hereof my irony is at an end. Mine is at an end. I purpose no further to proceed. To return again I do intend. I will cause Moros to make haste. Antiquity tarrieth for you, I will say.
Yea, and though the time be somewhat past, tell him that I did not well know the way.
And go out wrath. And we'll just briefly pause there because there's a couple of things, structural things to say.
Yes.
I think my reason that hereof my journey is at an end, I think, is that's my bad. So, Pietie, if the doubling is correct...
Pietie has to go out quickly before Ignorance comes in.
So, wrath, no more words, but get thee away at once.
And that's the cue to leave.
I think that must be the cue. And then the rest is to the audience, I am wrath. And all those threats are out there. So you've got 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 9 lines to get changed.
Lots of fasteners, it's fine.
Aliki, that was a wonderful mime. Could you add the words?
You could have a sort of hooded cloak and just fling it off in the wings. It doesn't have to be a big costume change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get the impression that they're going for elaborate costuming in this because the turnaround must be so quick. We've had some relatively quick changes, I think, but a little bit more time's been given than that. If the doubling is correct, it may not.
I didn't follow all the fooling around with people's names, though. Is it just that Ignorance is giving everyone a different names?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a name change.
The full Moros.
Yeah, they had a name change earlier, and it's. I think that this is the second round.
Yeah.
I know we've encountered it before where the vices change names in plays for a few, but
yeah, we wouldn't want anybody to know that impiety was impious, so let's say philosophy instead.
Right.
And say they had that earlier, or the other vices did. But of course, these are two different vices who weren't there, and they're also reporting action that happened off stage that apparently was hilarious, but it was off stage, so.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. So yeah, I mean, structurally, it's again, it's that difficulty of us doing this in 2 sessions where we've sort of hit a middle bit, which is sort of flowy from the previous thing, and it's setting up the next thing, and it's actually quite an awkward place for us to be picking up the action on because we sort of lose our thread. Anyway, Ignorance is left alone. And It's there's an interesting stage direction going up, which we'll get to when we get to. So, ignorance left alone. Entertain the audience.
Ignorance, yea, ignorance is my name, a meet mate with fools to dwell, a quality of an ancient fame, and yet drown I many one in hell. The papists, which the truth do know, Lord, how I have noozled them in my science. I have so taught them, howsoever the wind blow, they shall still incline to my sentence. So that though they have knowledge and cunning, they are but ignorant and fools. After every heresy and popery they're running, and delight daily to learn at new schools. Also, many that do themselves abuse, some in that iniquity, and some in this, by ignorance they do themselves excuse, as though they know not that they did amiss, when their conscience bear them record. But their acts are wicked and evil. Therefore, when they shall come before the Lord, he shall condemn them with Satan the devil.
Enter gaily, disguised and with a foolish beard. It isn't 100% certain, clear that this is Moros.
My beard is well grown. I thought that I should be a man once. Yea, a gentleman, and so will I be known, a man of honour, both body and bones. How say you, my counsellors? Tell me, have I not a gentleman countenance?
A better face, truly, I did never see, nor a better leg in my remembrance.
If you had not been comely and wise, fortune would not have so favoured you. You must appear to be strange and nice, that will cause men humbly to bow.
God is dainty. Is this Master Moros? A proper gentleman, by St. Anne, to dwell with your maship I purpose, and to do you the best service that I can.
This is another of your counsel, whose name is called Antiquity. His words are truer than the gospel, a person full of truth and fidelity.
You are welcome, gentle Sanguinity. Sir, is Sanguinity your name?
He is called Ancient Antiquity, a person of good stock and great fame.
Welcome then, gentle Tandidity, and you are welcome, all three indeed. Pie, lousy boy, Fippence, and Tandidity, how do you welcome all good speed?
Forsooth, I am called Philosophy. Prudence is this man's name, doubtless. Antiquity he is called verily, as hereafter we shall more plainly express.
Pay, Philosophy, Fippence, and Tandidity, you are welcome. You come to wait on me.
Yes.
And to serve you with all humility, and to fulfill your requests ready to be.
Fortune appointed me to be the governor of your own person, you to direct, and to convince every vain troubler which shall presume your mind to infect.
And me she appointed them to correct, which should do aught against your mind, yea, and your profits and rents to collect, and to seek narrowly where we may them find.
I am ordained always to give you a warning of exercitation in any science, lest you hurt your wits with learning and dull your understanding in science.
Shall I tell you, there was one pine nut who a while had me in his handling. He was up with God and holy divinity, but I was soon weary of his wandling. And that cursed Horson, Derek Quinton, who beat me shrewdly by God's passion. He went about me to famish and pine, threw one arse out of fashion. I desire you, lousy boy, and you, cheapence and candidity, them to banish and utterly destroy, for I fear their crudelity.
Dear, and you a man of nobility. Remember that you are come to manhood.
Hath not fortune set you on authority? With your own hand let their heart blood.
Body of God, give me my sword. Heart wounds, I will kill them by and by. Arms and sides, I have spoken the word. His blood and bones, they shall die. Am I in authority, do you say? May I hang, burn, head, kill? Let them be sure I will do what I may. I will be known in authority, that I will.
Piety, discipline, and exercitation, mean you not them, I pray you?
They have indeed put me to tribulation, but trow I will trouble them again now. Body of God, I am in authority. I will burn them, hang them, boil them. As many as once professed piety, if I may know it, I will turmoil them.
Of God, indeed, many of them talk, and of the soul, and of heaven and hell. But from you, as fools, let them walk. They speak of a thing whereof they cannot tell. I am named philosophy. The knowledge of all things I do contain in me is astronomy and astrology. The truth of all things in me do remain. I can teach you heaven to know, which they call a spherical figure, more perfect than any other, high or low, eternal forsooth in his own nature. Also, how that the world was made in the midst of the said heaven, how the suns divided in their trade of the sickles and epicycles 7, moving and quiet I can teach, of matter and form I can tell goodly gear, such as go up into pulpits and preach, especially these newer fellows, give them no ear. Nay then, whereas you have authority, suffer them not in any wise to dwell. Be bold, punish them with austerity, for it is all but heresy they do tell. Goodly doctrines I can teach you of nature, and how it bringeth forth nothing perflightly without art. This is a doctrine sure. Also, how the same worketh secretly. Now such as of God to you will talk of heaven, hell, or of the soul, from your presence bid them walk. Yea, though they allege Christ and Paul concerning these things, I am appointed to bring you into the verity. Endeavor yourself to be acquainted with your noble counselor, Antiquity. From time to time, evermore still, he shall in your company remain. Prudence shall get in, pole and pill for evermore seek for your gain.
You are a cunning person, I see that. Would to God you had a better name. Pill lousy boy. Fie, that is too flat, and to call you fippence, it is a shame.
His name, I tell you, is Philosophy, in whom is contained all science. Antiquity is my name, verily, and this person is called Prudence.
God's blessings on your hearts all. I shall remember your names, I trow. My servants by their names I will call, if my beard a little longer would grow. I doubt not, but as you grow in age, so you will increase in sapience. You shall never want a witty page to sharpen your intelligence.
With all your affairs, let us alone. Give you your mind to pleasure, eat, drink, dally, and play with Joan. We will maintain your state with treasure. Some will move you to read scripture, some would have you seen in stories, some to feats of arms will you allure. All these are but plain vainglories. Marry, I would have you seen in cards and dice, as you shall be, I trow, within a while. We trust to make you in them so wise, that none shall be able you to beguile.
You must set yourself forth with the best. You must learn to have a diverse countenance, frowning when a thing you shall detest, pleasant when aught is for your furtherance. So, lo, that is well when you are angry, meekly well to when you are pleased, a smiling countenance you must carry when your conceit is in all things eased.
By my troth, what you like whom he doth look, he is as like a cousin of mine as ever I did see.
That he is like him in face, you may swear on a book, and also his conditions with his do well agree, as touching all godliness a fool he was. But in filthy demeanour who was worse, out of doubt in sin he did so excel and pass, that the whole country for him God did curse.
Leave, I pray you, sirs, what needeth this clatter? You talk, sir, methink you, what not what. I pray you go forward with our matter. If you know any ways for our master's profit, speak that.
To provide things to come by policy, I will work under such a pretence that all things shall appear honestly, and for that cause am I named Prudence. Again, in providing your necessaries, I will in such a sort canvass the law, that such as be your adversaries shall be brought to quorum and awe.
Oh, who hath such servants as I have, so learned, so wise in hall and school? Among them all there is not one knave, so that it skilleth not, though I be a fool. Would to God I had my servants together, pastime, pleasure, Robin Hood. I pray you take pain to call them hither. To have them wait on me, it should do me good.
You know the names of all your servants. If it may please you them here to recite, we must also know the names of your tenants, that in your books of accounts we may them write.
Poor lousy boy, you are the best, none of them better than you, none so good. Thippence and Tandidity be next, and pastime, pleasure, and Robin Hood. Here be 6 honest persons indeed. By St. Malkin it is an honest train. You shall all have one livery and weed, for you all intend my profit and gain.
To the draper I will go and buy cloth, and array all your servants in a livery. To wait on you otherwise I would be loath, that will be gentlemanlike verily.
The great affairs I do consider that prudence in other things must have. It is best, therefore, that we go together. So shall we be sure money to save, and here we leave ancient antiquity, a person that no bad counsel will give. He is prudent and full of sagacity. His counsel, see that you do believe.
I have servants that finely can sing. Let me hear, I pray you, what you can do. Singing and playing, I love above all things. Let me hear you, I pray you. Go to.
Oh, I am old and my voice is rusty, yet I will sing to do you pleasure.
We will have a drink if you be thirsty. For I love to drink without measure.
You must begin, for I can no skill, yet I will jumble on as well as I can.
We are indifferent, sing what ye will. We were brought up with a singing man.
And I'm just going to pause us there because we've got a stage direction coming up, Sing Some Merry Song. It's sort of, at the moment it's placed in the middle of some dialogue. I don't think that's where it lives. It either lives now or a little later on. But at some point they sing some merry song is the stage direction. Now, from all the dialogue, I'm suspecting very, very badly.
Right.
Because they've been doing all these stuff to him all the way through, name all your servants, go on, all your fine servants. And of course, he hasn't got any servants, so he sort of they put him on the spot. And here he sort of gets his own revenge without knowing it, by putting them on the spot to sing a song. And is going, do you know any songs? I don't know any songs. I can't sing. And that's how I read it. I don't know if I'm right there. He's been given this beard to make him older, and that seems like a prop that's just going to keep giving, as he's just keeps playing with his beard.
Oh, brother, where art thou?
And there's not one knave. He knows the word knave because he's got up to K in his book.
Knave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm wondering all this. I mean, in Pietie's long speech, which is again, don't listen to priests, don't listen to good people. There's also a slight hint of is it sort of a bit anti-Catholic in thought there as well. There's a little hint of that there.
I mean, what was philosophy in antiquity? I kind of took it as anti, classics, anti the Greeks and Romans.
Well, the philosophy's points are actually relatively sound. I mean, actually.
They are. I felt bad sending them up.
I was wondering about, is this a sort of survival of things like boy bishops and that sort of action in the past, or all of this, this boy who's been, we're calling him a boy. The impression that he's quite young, being given this fake power for a while, and I'm just wondering.
Right, world turned upside down, sort of carnival thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I love Moros's things with names. I love the way, just as we had yesterday, we had pine nut tree and so on. Now we've got, fippence and tandidity. I think it's great.
Tandidity is fabulous.
Really fun.
Yeah, because I was asking a question, I was making a note in the very beginning of this scene. It was like, why are we suddenly getting all these different vices? And so the answer is that he can do the callback of Derek Quintin and all that stuff, and it's still slightly odd. I do find that element why they're all basically different people but doing the same function.
Yeah, they're all teaching him to gamble, and yeah, they are.
It's a sort of question as well what Moros is up to while all these long speeches are happening. I mean, it doesn't strike me as just going to kind of standing there. There's either some kind of business devised, a court or something like that, or he's just wandering around doing random stuff or something like that. And part of it would explain why he doesn't really catch on to what people are doing is he isn't actually listening.
Yeah, I saw him sort of being given a throne and a scepter, and he's sat there, and every so often someone sits him back down again when he gets too far, moves away, and he loves it when he has this little hint of authority. God of power, I am in authority. I will burn them. I've got power now. I will get my revenge on these figures who've been horrible to me.
So it's kind of kiddie-ish, isn't it?
Yeah.
Boil them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the question. We haven't really engaged. You know, he's there to be taught how old, in relative terms, is Moros to the other actors on stage. You know, is Moros, you know, literally the youngest actor in the room, as opposed to older figures playing the others, or what? I mean, we haven't really got an answer precisely as to who is playing and in what context and where they're going.
It could be quite funny if you had Moros talking in a very high voice before he gets the beard, and then a lower voice with the beard, but quite hard to keep that up.
Mm. Well, the absence of keeping up, you know, every so often he remembers he's got the beard and go, oh, yeah. Mm.
But I really like the idea of, you know, staging it, if you were staging it, to have him on a throne, kind of like the baby king, like the kind of, you know, tyrannical infant. Well, he's not really tyrannical, is he? He's foolish.
Well, I mean, we're talking about clowns, you know, sort of putting this through the prism of clown is how I've been thinking of it. If it's a clown, you know, and sort of modern day clown techniques, you know, I keep thinking of this as, you know, the clown who just has no memory, which this character doesn't have. So everything is always a surprise, and it's an exercise you can do with I did it with masks almost 20 years ago now, where you have very tiny holes and your vision is what you see. And every time you see anything, it's a surprise, and you just go, ooh, 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 ooh. And when you see it again, it's new again, and sometimes things are more surprising and less surprising. And that's sort of how I'm seeing Moros at the moment. Is just constantly, everything's always a surprise, and sometimes it's a delightful surprise, and sometimes it's a terrifying surprise, and it even if it's the same thing that he sees.
That level of disconnect from the action is quite unusual, isn't it? But it does fit like that. I think I agree with you. I think that's definitely a way you could go with it.
Well, I think it might remove the awkwardness that it would have in a modern context if we change fool to clown. Literally, in terms of the word, you know, this is some strange clown school. You've got this strange other figure. It might make it more palatable for a modern audience, because otherwise it feels very real and very cruel. Whereas if it's not a real person, it's a clown. You know, there's a mime in the other room, and you know, things like that. But anyway, we should go on with text.
Just a very quick one, sorry, Robert.
Yeah, go for it.
Crueltie's first lines. What was that word at the end of line 3? You must appear to be strange, and I did nice, but I really couldn't.
Oh, I think it is nice.
It is nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's just got to rhyme with wise.
That's fine.
Yeah, but nice means something different at this period.
That's fine. It was just read it.
It means sort of fastidious.
So, Ruth?
Oh, I think it probably means foolish. It means foolish in this context.
Right.
It can mean fastidious sometimes, but I think here it means foolish.
Cool.
Yes. So they sing some merry song, possibly here, before Impietie now speaks. It seems like it, because Impietie says they're going to leave now, so it seems logical. So sing a merry song, and Impietie go.
We take our leave of you for this season. In time we shall wait on you again.
To have a time it standeth with reason, in order to set among your train.
In my house, you will appoint me officers, such as shall bring in to make frolic cheer. But those of discipline and piety, followers, I would have rooted out, both far and near. Fare you well. As soon as you can, return, for I can do nothing without your counsel.
He that speaketh one word against you, we will burn, hang, or head him like a rebel.
And go out both.
Yea, marry, sir, this doth me good at the heart. Fare ye well, worthy to serve, A gentleman.
I tell you, they were not brought up at the cart. Full worshipfully their courtesy they can. Now, sir, tell me how you feel your stomach. Are you disposed to play, eat, or drink? Tell me if there be anything that you lack. Devise what you will, and in mind do you think. You shall have it whatsoever it doth cost. We will neither pass of wind nor weather.
By my troth, the thing that I desire most is in my cap to have a goodly feather.
A feather? A matter of great importance. You shall have a feather if it cost £1. Look up lustily, use a gentleman's countenance, and a feather I trow for you shall be found.
A feather? That would make me look aloft. Have you one? A red one? Oh, no, I thank you. Oh, it is goodly soft. This will make me a gentleman alone. Make it fast, I pray you, in my cap. Now, oh, by my honour, I thank you heartily. This will bear away a good rap, as good as a salad for me, verily. I look upward now, always still. God, it stays. A feather I cannot see. Of this feather I can no skill. Oh, beshrew my heart, I've hurt my knee. So it's the stage direction, isn't it? Looks upward to see the feather, stumble and fall.
Yes, and that makes, that's again is also slightly out of place as well. So it presumably lives before you hurt your knee. Though precisely how that all functions, it's a really interesting speech, isn't it? It's is the feather actually there? Is he actually chasing the feather, or is he chasing an invisible feather? I mean, how is that working? That's it's really
feather.
playful.
Is this a feather I see before me?
I think it's an up and down game, right? I mean, it's all this very clowny business. The feather is huge. It's here. Oh, this is a great feather. Oh, and I look up to see my feather. Yeah, kind of thing. Yeah. I can just see his head going up and down.
I'm so glad Stephen got the duck noise. That's all I'll say.
Okay, so let's go from beshrew my heart, I have hurt my knee. So look upward to see the feather, stumble and fall.
Beshrew my heart, I've hurt my knee. Like the philosopher that looked so high so long that he fell into the mire. Also another that gazed so into the sky till he fell grovelling in the fire. For a gentleman to look high, it is meet, but in all things there is a mean. It becometh you to take heed to your feet, lest you make your garments foul and unclean. A vengeance take this foolish feather. While it is there, I cannot look down.
Fie, you should have said so rather. Look here how unseemly you wear your gear. See, it hangeth all on one side, and your sword is between your legs. Wise men, will you mock and deride, and not set by you a couple of eggs? Let me help you to set your gown right. On this fashion your sword you must wear. Alack, if I had a good sight, I would trim you in your gear.
Must I not look over my shoulder sometime? I've seen some that thus would jet.
To be equal with the best, do you climb? Remember still that in honour you are set.
And here entereth discipline with the title of the play.
The longer thou livest, the more fool thou art. Every day more fool than other. Thou wilt play such a foolish part as shall shame country, father, and mother. Good audience, note this fool's proceeding. In tender age, in idleness he was nuzzled. In Idlenesse, when pubes were springing, touching virtue, as a dog that is museled, ill-willing to learn, and therefore unapt. All his senses he applied to vice. Anon with such companions he was wrapped as no young man will be that is wise. Never could I bring him to piety. That is God to serve, to love, to fear, neither to do aught for his own utility, neither reverence in his heart to bear. But as all fools are unpatent, so was he given to hastiness and ire. In lechery, as fools be all incontinent, through idleness he was set on fire. When to man's state once he attained, worldly fortune did him in wealth erect. God and good counsel he disdained. Being then with all misery, in fact, now he is come unto plain impiety, which persuadeth him God to deny, and with him is joined crudelity against the innocents to reply. Behold, here he is, led with ignorance, so that he will not believe the verity. Besides these, he hath other maintenance to uphold him in his iniquity. Of such the prophet did prophecy. The fool saith in his heart there is no God. Corrupt are they and full of villainy. Therefore shall they be beat with an iron rod.
Can you tell of whom this tale they have told? I am man, he knoweth me not now.
Tush, tush, face him out, fear not, be bold, for all this talk he hath of you.
Sir, shall I draw my sword or dagger? Is it not best to kill him out of hand?
Tush, you are but a cracking bragger. I would see you boldly him to withstand.
Would to God that Pilaudzy boy were here. Good Lord, what meaneth my man Robin Hood?
Are you afraid? For very shame, draw near. I would let out some of his saucy blood.
Good man, you know you who I am. My beard is grown. I am a man now. You shall repent that hither you came. I will kill you. I make God a vow. Oh, vengeance on it, my dagger will not out. Sir, I pray you how my hand doth quake. Rail on me, you beggarly lout. You and I a fray will make. Am I not a gentleman knave? Body of God, will you presume? Truly, no power I have, so great is my anger and fume.
A fool uttereth his anger in haste, and hath not the wit measure to keep. Where much anger is, strength is past, and wisdom is drowned in folly deep. As fair legs to a cripple are unseemly, so to a fool honor is undecent. As snow in harvest is untimely, so it is a plague when a fool is regent. What should a fool do with money or treasure, seeing that sapience he cannot buy? In voluptuousness he walloweth without measure, as a beastly swine doth in his filthy sty.
Body of God, for anger I am like to die. Where is Robin Hood and Pilaudzy boy? Callest thou me fool? I utterly thee defy. Thee and all thine this sword shall utterly destroy. Pluck out my sword, good Tandidity. Passion of God, kill him downright.
He should not long live in tranquillity, if I had my perfect senses and sight. But be you ruled by my counsel, for this time let us depart and give place. We shall send them thither that shall him compel to hold his peace, yea, spite of his face.
Content, we will go hence indeed. We will send to you ere it be long. Oh, alas, where be my servants in time of need? This tough horseman for me is too strong.
And they both go out, leaving Discipline alone.
As scripture calleth this the highest sapience, God to know, to fear, to love and obey, and the most pure and high intelligence is to follow his precepts night and day. So God to contempt, to despise, to hate is such a folly as none is more extreme. This is the most miserable state. Yea, no state at all, as wise men do esteem, when a fool is compassed with impiety, which is contempt of God and his ordinances, and such a fool erected to authority. The people must needs sustain many grievances, for their God cannot be duly honored. His holy sacraments had in estimation neither the public weal rightly governed, all cometh to utter dissipation. If we should say all that might be said of fools in their extreme folly, how God's people by them have decayed, 2 days would not serve, I think truly.
And he goes out. Thank God he does. I really, really hate discipline.
Yeah.
He's such a git.
So pious.
It's not just that. I mean, some of his, as fair legs to a cripple are unseemly, so to fool honour is undecent. I mean, it's off.
There he is, going around talking about other people's pubes, for heaven's sake.
Yes. In Incontinencie, when pubes are springing.
When I was starting to read this stuff, like many, many years ago, there was still something called the Elizabethan world picture, which was this very, very hierarchical and conservative view where everything had its place and everything was ordered, and this was implicitly a good thing. And this is absolutely taking a hammer to that, isn't it? Because the person who's articulating this, everything's for the best in the best of all possible worlds, and everything is hierarchically organized. It's just so horrible, So it's quite interesting, that this is he's an establishment figure, as it were.
I do have to say though, maybe it's the American in me, but the lines, "When such a fool erected to authority, the people must needs sustain many grievances." Some of those lines, I really could see a quite Trumpian figure as Moros,
I've been thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah, definitely. And particularly the bit where Moros says, well, I'm surrounded by lots of good people who are clever. It doesn't matter that I'm a fool,
I have the best servants.
Yeah.
The bit, that business with the feather, which is quite a kind of set piece, I think that might actually have the effect on the audience of making them sympathetic towards Moros. They can see that he's quite self-deceived. I think that could work very well that way.
There's a real flipping of coin there between, laughing at the comedy that is inherent in what he's doing, but also that he's constantly being used and manipulated. I mean, we can't really, get away from that.
I suppose that was part of the point of my comment, and that just because somebody is easily manipulated doesn't mean that they're not contemptible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, I think playing it's just impossible. You need a director to tell you how to do it.
You
really do.
Really nice things with his confusion, I think, though. But it's a really delicate place to pitch it.
I think you've just got to keep forgetting things. I think that's it. I think just keep getting distracted endlessly by what's going on, and you're sort of being used to point a moral, but the used is important as well. I think, and so so it's it's meta.
I mean, it's. I mean, but that said, I mean, it is that thing of the they're pushing this idea that over time and as well, and he's talking about growing this beard, but the beard is plainly just a stick-on beard or something. You know, it's this illusion of time growing. But they're also talking about it in a quite literal sense of as you're getting older, and that element of the title and trying to make the title work, and to be honest, we've got form with Wager before. With the title of Trial of Treasure doesn't quite work in the context of the play either. It doesn't quite make sense. So there's elements of this that doesn't quite feel fully formed and joined up. Like they had a title and then they put a play with it.
The beard is quite meta as well, though, isn't it? Because it's a kind of standard disguising thing for actors.
Yeah.
As well, and you know that. So it's really.
No, and he's been dressed up by other people in stuff that isn't his stuff, and he doesn't really know how to handle that. I can also see as meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. As well as a great comic possibility. You were talking before about what is he doing during all of these speeches. Well, maybe he's, you know, tugging down his doublet and pulling up his hose and what have we got here? And what's this tied to this bit? You know.
Yeah, especially if he can't quite pull his sword out. I mean, if his sword comes out a little bit, then when he's playing with his sword, it could look wonderfully obscene.
And I think should.
Yes. Well, I have to say there was one line which I was a little speechette earlier in the play where I looked at it and went, "Oh no, I'm reading this in a much too modern a sense, and you know, it's not like that at all." And then I started going back and going, "Oh, maybe it isn't." You know, when they that many do themselves abuse, and I'm sort of thinking that until we got to the pubes line, I was sort of thinking I'm sure that's not what it means, but now I'm not so sure.
But the sword is between your legs is definitely
No.
But the proverb, you know, when discipline comes in and says that, the proverb again, you know, the longer thou livest, the more fool thou art. I'm starting to think that perhaps what it means, because I don't know what it means, I'm starting to think that what it means is once a fool, always a fool. You know, you're never going to change him, that's what it means. He's just... Yeah.
And the operative, you know, being fool, it's, you know, he you know, this fool is always going to be a fool and you know, in quite a literal sense. It seems to me that's where it's going. It's but it doesn't seem to me that that's quite what the proverb's supposed to mean.
You don't really get a sense here that the fool is anything that it was in the name of the person that we're never supposed to mention this place.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So,
whoever that might be, I've got no idea.
I don't know. I don't know who that is either. It was just
Stephen.
Yeah. So there's this terrible background noise at the moment. So the people are out shooting in the. There's sound of ducks everywhere. Okay, let's move on. We have a new character entering on stage. So here entereth people.
Intolerabilius nil est quam dives avarus, quam stultus locuples, quam fortunatus iniquus. There is nothing more intolerable. Behold, wait a minute, that a rich man that is covetous, a fool wealthy, a wicked man fortunable, a judge partial, an old man lecherous. Good Lord, how we are now molested. The devil hath sent one into our country, a monster whom God and man hath detested, a fool that came up from a low degree. My name is People, for I represent all the people where Moros doth dwell. Such a person as is with nothing content, so that we think him to be a devil of hell. Neither learning, wisdom, nor reason will serve where he taketh opinion. His words and acts be all out of season. By honest men he setteth not an onion. And as he is, such is his family. Not one honest person among them I do know. Ruffians, villains, swearers, full of blasphemy, despisers of all honest men, both high and low. A whole alphabet of his officers I can recite, though it be not in order. a rabble of roisterly rufflers, which trouble all honest men in our borders. As for impiety, cruelty, and ignorance, are chief of his counsel verily. Idleness, wrath, and lecherous dalliance are they, which in youth kept him company. Sir Anthony, arrogant auditor, Bartilmo Briber, Bailey, Clement Catchpole, Cofferer, Division, double-faced Davy, Edmund, envious chief of the Ewery, Fabian Falsehood, his head farmer, Gregory Gorbally the gouty, governeth the grain in the garner. Hans Hazarder the horsekeeper is, James the just is the chief judge, Leonard lecherous is man of law I wise. Kenham the knave is in cookery no drudge, Martin the murderer, master of music, Nicol never thrift the notary, Owen Overwhort the master in physic, Quintine the coiffer for nothing necessary, Rafe ruffian the rude railer, Stephen sturdy master surveyor, Thomas the thief is chief tailor, William Witless the great warrior. With these and such like many more, we in his circuit be oppressed. For remedy we wot not whether to go, to have our calamity redressed. Unto God only we refer our cause, humbly we commit all to his judgment. We have offended him and his holy laws, therefore are we worthy of this punishment.
And the people go out. I wasn't going to pause there, but I think I have to. It's almost A is adorable B. So it doesn't quite go through the full alphabet, but it's not far off.
I couldn't help thinking of the Rowan Atkinson headmaster sketch. You've seen that where he does the register.
Yeah, plectrum.
Orifice. Quintin the Quaffer.
Well, it's not only that. If it's the people, I mean, there was part of me who was thinking it wasn't so much the people; it was more the Daily Mail at one point. You know, because it's that sort of I mean,
You've got this sort of authority figure, and in the middle of it, they go into this kind of patter, Gilbert and Sullivan style. It's just, the needle is just going like this.
Yeah.
What on earth is going on?
Yeah, because, we've had these kind of random list set pieces, but not the second half of this speech. The first half and the second half just do not seem to come from the same universe.
No.
Fascinating. I think we'll park that for the moment. Let's return to the A plot, as it were.
The alphabet thing is brilliant, I think. That's good. And that takes us back to Moros' learning as well, and his failure to learn. To only get as far as K in the alphabet.
And it is a sort of improv-y thing as well, isn't it? I mean, there's several improv games where you've just got to go through the alphabet, or games for that matter, where you just go through the alphabet, trying to think of the first name or something like that. It does have that kind of extempore element to it.
And it is odd that it's Ruth, in your doubling, that you do this speech. It seemed, because you've only just gone off.
Right.
It would, I'm looking at it sort of going, well, maybe Aliki would have been a more, the doubling would make sure if your figure would have done that, because I don't think you've been off and you won't be back on again for a little bit more time. So I'm wondering if that's an actor thing, if the actor, that actor is good at that logic rather than strict doubling terms. I would probably hand that to another person's rostrum, because it seems odd. Greg?
No, it's just a thought. We've had it. There's not much of it, but you can almost see him picking people out in the audience for that. I mean, it's just.
I thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you mean there is probably almost an everyman element of they could all be somebody who sat there.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right with the Rowan Atkinson thing. I mean, that would tie the whole speech together, actually, if it's that officiousness quality to it.
Yes. So again, we've got an authority figure who is also a sort of compromised or a figure of fun.
Anyway, let us return, as I say, to the action as we go into the final movement, as I think we'll call it. So the people have gone. I don't think we see them again. Enter Moros furiously, this time with a grey beard.
Where is he? Blood, sides, heart, and wounds. A man am I now, every inch of me. I will teach the knave to keep his bounds. What is prattling with profit I will see. With me to come, I would not suffer one. Yet servants I have, and that plenty, I myself. I trow am good enough alone. Yea, by the mass, if there were 20, make no more ado, but fend thy head. Have at thee, thou shalt know I am a man.
And fight alone is the stage direction.
I will make that shall eat no more bread, rail no more at Master Moros then. What there either I have enslaved.
And now here we have a stage direction right in the middle of this speech. Enter with a terrible visure, and I'm assuming that's the entrance of God's judgment.
Or else from my sight he is fled. He is never like to trouble me again, I warrant him. I have brought him in bed.
The longer thou livest, the more fool thou art. This to thou have been often recited, for as much as thou hast played such a fool's part. As a fool thou shalt be justly requited. I represent God's severe judgment, which dallieth not where to strike he doth purpose. Hither am I sent to the punishment of this impious fool here called Moros. When say there is no God in his heart, his holy laws he has stoutly blasphemed, godly discipline could never his mind convert, virtue nor honesty are not of him esteemed.
Pestilence take 'em, horse and knaves, they're ever absent when I have need. Horses, bring your clubs, bills, bows and staves. I see that it is time now to take heed.
According unto his most wicked belief, so with his neighbours wickedly he dealeth. From the poor he doth take, and nothing doth give. He oppresseth, bribeth, defraudeth, and stealeth. If he believed God good works to reward, and devil's wickedness to punish in fire, his promises and threats he would more regard, to penance and for mercy desire. But such fools in their hearts do say that there is no God, neither heaven nor hell, according to their saying. They follow that way, like as a little before I did tell. For as much as vengeance to God doth belong, and he will say recompense, that he is a God of power, mighty and strong. The fools shall know by experience, with this sword of vengeance I strike thee. Strike Moros and let him fall down.
I think that's possibly a stage direction.
Yeah, no, it's all right.
Yeah, no, it's my bad. So, strike Morris and let him fall down.
Thy wicked household should be dispersed. Thy children shall be rooted out to the 4th degree, like as the mouth of God hath rehearsed.
Either I have the falling sickness, or else with palsy am I stricken. I feel in myself no manner of quickness. I begin now strangely to sicken.
If thou hast grace for mercy now call, yet thy soul perchance thou mayst save. For his mercy is above his works all, on penitent sinners he is wont mercy to have.
It was but a qualm came over my heart. I lack nothing but a cup of good wine.
Indurate wretches cannot convert, but die in their filthiness like swine.
Enter confusion with an ill-favoured vizier. So another ill-favoured after a terrible vizier, and all things beside ill-favoured.
Behold, here cometh shame and confusion, the reward of such wicked fools all. To all the world shall appear thy abusion, thy wickedness and false belief to great and small.
Here is an ill-favoured knave by the mass. Get the nth thief with a wannion.
This is the reward of such a foolish ass. For evermore he shall be thy companion.
The wise shall have honour in possession. Thus the wise King Solomon doth say, but the portion of fools is confusion, which abideth with them for ever and aye.
Confusion spoil him of his array. Give him his fool's coat, for him due. His chain and his staff take thou away. In sorrow and care for ever let him rue.
Am I asleep? In a dream or in a trance? Heaven, methink I should be waking. Body of God, this is a wonderful chance. I cannot stand on my feet for quaking.
As the ears of an ass appeared in Midas, though it were long ere it were known, so at length evermore it cometh to pass that the folly of fools is openly blown. And then in this world they have confusion, that is, reproof, derision, and open shame. And when they have ended all their abusion, they leave behind them an abominable name. Come, foolish Moros, come, go with me, and I shall bring thee to a shameful end. Thy malice will not let thee thy folly to see, so that thou hast not the grace thy life to amend.
Sancti, amen. Where is my goodly gear? I see well that I was asleep indeed. What am I fain a fool's coat to wear? We must learn at Christ's cross me speed. Or that I was a gentleman and had servants, or else I dreamed that I was a gentleman.
But thou art now a peasant of all peasants, derision and mock to man and woman. Come forth of thy folly to receive thy hire, confusion, poverty, sickness, and punishment, and after this life eternal fire, do for fools that be impenitent.
Go with thee, ill-favoured knave, I'd liever thou wert hanged by the neck. Please the devil for me to have, I'd let him carry me away on his back.
I will carry thee to the devil indeed. The world shall be well rid of a fool.
Adieu to the devil, God send us good speed. Another while with the devil, I must go to school.
For sin, though God suffereth impiety, greatly to the dishonour of his name, yet at length he throweth down iniquity, and putteth the authors thereof to shame. So confounded he tyrants in times past, whom holy scriptures fools doth call. For as beasts here their times they did waste, and from our wickedness to another did fall. What shall we need their names to recite, seeing that every man hath of them heard? In our times we have known fools full of spite, and in this world have seen their reward. We do not only them fools call here, which have not the perfect use of reason, innocence whereof he be many far and near, in whom discretion is geason. But those are the greatest fools properly, which disdain to learn sapience, to speak, to do, to work all things orderly, and as God hath given intelligence, but contrary to nature and God's will, they stop their eyes through wilful ignorance. They seek to slee, to prison, to poll, to pill, only for their own furtherance. Of all fools indeed this is the worst kind. What of this time we have treated, which to all mischief giveth his mind, and refuseth to be instructed. Many things more of fools we could talk, but we have detained long our audience. Another way I am compelled to walk, desiring you a while to have patience.
And he goes out. We'll just briefly pause there. Well, there is still more to go, even though you could argue the players kind of ended here. And the characters who are about to come on are all our favourite characters, who we love to spend more stage time with. It really is, you should stay in your place, lad.
Yeah.
Don't try and learn things. You're never going to learn. I mean, that's I think really makes sense of the title there. It's, you know, the longer you live, lad, you, that person there, it's not a general prologue. It's the longer this person lives, the more, you know, there's no changing you. And that then extends to wider society. I mean, it's quite sad. I really feel for the poor bug.
Yeah.
I did a quick Google to try and find it, and I found a sort of vague reference to the proverb going back to, I mean, there was the fool in his heart said there's no God. That's, I don't know, I can't remember who it is. It was St. Paul or somebody like that. But anyway, somewhere in Proverbs, it says, though you grind a fool in a mortar with a pestle, along with crushed grain, yet his foolishness will not depart from him. Mm. So...
I mean, the way I've started thinking about this is that this whole thing is some terrible, horrific experiment to test the proverb, though they don't say it at the beginning, that this is some weird lab, that these and they've chosen this subject to test the proposition, and they go through this whole process of pretending that he's growing older and
But there's this whole sort of bolt-on thing that this is somehow, you know, ungodly, whereas Moros hasn't a clue about any of that. You know, he's been treated like some kind of blasphemer, but those aren't the choices that he's been presented with at all.
But there is I think that's true, but there is a bit, God's judgment speech does at least give us more of an indication of how we're meant to read Moros. For the first time, I got a sense of how it is, you know, it's not that he lacks reason. You know, we do not only them fools call here which have not the perfect use of reason, but those that are the greatest fools properly, which disdain to learn sapience. It's people who kind of willfully turn their backs on learning wisdom, which kind of gets us out from Robert. I know you've talked about, you know, the play does seem uncomfortable at times for a modern audience, because it does seem to be mocking someone for just being a bit thick. But I think it's clear that it means something different from this speech.
Yeah, but that doesn't quite feel like it matches the rest of the play, though.
No,
I mean, that
feels
like a weird
quickly, didn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's the Old Testament, isn't it? I mean, it's just sort of, you know, barging its way through the door, you know, and smiting down with great vengeance.
Yeah. And it's you know, Greg, any thoughts?
Having read the prologue at the start, I actually felt like I was reading the epilogue with that last speech.
Yeah, but there's more.
It just feels like it's tying it up very nicely in a bow and presenting it. And then you've got, as you say, our favourite character comes back.
Yes,
and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Just felt
I agree. It could certainly have stopped there.
Yeah. Well, let's find out whether the coda is an exciting addition that we're all dying to do. I can tell you're all really raring to go to have the re-entrance of Exercitacion, yay, Pietie, woo, and our all-star favourite, Discipline. Okay. Enter all three.
Although this fool of whom we have spoken have refused all honest exercise, yet the hearts of wise men God doth open, virtuous occupation not to despise. For undoubtedly it is as hard as they say to get the sceptre out of the hand of Hercules, as for one to be well occupied night or day, that is noozled in unhappy idleness. For as Theophylact doth write, idleness have taught all iniquity. And as Ezekiel also doth recite, idleness taught the Sodomites impiety. Never will I believe that man... Can't get the words out. Neither will I believe that man good to be, whether he be of the clergy or lay, whom idle and not well occupied I see, which do nothing but eat, drink, and play.
We desire that no man here to be offended, in that we use this term piety, which is despised and vilely pended of sinners and authors of iniquity. But the heathen philosophers and orators use the same term and in the same sense. Learned Christians, true worshippers, created of piety with his science. Plato, Aristotle, Valerius, and Tully wrote of piety and divers other, and called it an honour due to God only, and a natural duty to father and mother. Saint Augustine in his book of God's City, and in other noble works that he did make, treateth holily of this term piety, and as he doth take it, so do we it take. Ipsa est illa sapientia qua pietas vocator, qua colita pater luminum, a quo est omne datum optimum. This is the highest sapience notified, which is called piety indeed, whereby the Father of light is worshipped, from whom every good gift doth proceed.
Touching my person, called discipline, in the process I have said sufficient. Yet to end with some honest doctrine, you shall hear a learned man's judgment. There be many disciplines, as authors do say. Among all there be two principal, that be sire and sapere alway, to have cunning and wisdom withal.
Ut fluosius habens gladium, si doctus iniquus. Without fail, this is a notable verse. I would all men could it well by rote. The sentence thereof Solomon doth rehearse. I wish all the audience it to note. A wicked man having learning and cunning, and doth many sciences understand, is like one whose wits are running. I mean a madman having a sword in his hand.
For a madman, having in his hand edged tool, seeketh both himself and other to kill. So a cunning man without wisdom is but a fool, for both himself and many other he doth spill. Wherefore, whosoever hath intelligence, let him humbly desire of God evermore, that he will also give him sapience to bestow his cunning to his honour.
That is the sum of the whole intent, to induce youth to these two aforesaid, scire et sapere. You know what is meant. Then many things amiss shall be well stayed.
To learn many things and many things to know, then to have wisdom the same to direct. These be two disciplines meet for high and low, which to all virtues do the mind erect.
For this time we have said sufficient. With scire and sapere we make an end, beseeching our Lord God omnipotent, that among us his grace he may send.
And here we make an end, trusting that all you present will bear us record, that no estate would defame. To praise the good order now set is our intent, and to further the glory of God's holy name.
God save the Queen's highness and the nobility. Defend her long, we beseech thee, Lord, which is the patroness of all humility, a setter forth of truth and lover of concord.
God preserve the Queen's most honourable counsel with all the magistrates of this region, that they may agree to maintain God's gospel, which is the most true and sincere religion. To root out Antichrist, I pray God they may take pain. Then will the Lord send them honour and fame, and after this life, give them the reward of the same.
pray we for the clergy and whole spirituality, that they may teach and set forth God's truth alway. I beseech you, let us pray for the whole communality, that upon us all God mercy take may, so that each one of us in the right way may stay. All glory, honor, impery, majesty, and dignity be given both now and evermore to the blessed Trinity.
And with such sayings, we have our answer. What is the primary thing this is about? Don't run with scissors.
Or with a sword between your legs.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Now I see, to go back to, Greg, to your speech as God's judgment, I think I'm beginning to see why it can't end there, because that would be too Old Testament. It's got to end with something that's more supposedly upbeat.
Don't run with scissors, yes.
And of course, the blessing of the church and the family and the royal family and everything else. Yeah.
You really want to end with an amen, right?
Well, I think that was going to be my next statement, Aliki.
Well, I mean, in a sense, it ends a lot more upbeat than Trial at Treasure did, where, you know, it does pretty much end with, you're all going to die and turn to dust. Goodbye.
True.
What cheerful playwrights you find.
Yeah, I know. It's something that's this hard Calvinist sort of attitude sort of sets in. You know, earlier it's you may sin, but you will be saved and go to heaven. And here, you know, Moros is they intimate he's going to go off with Satan.
Yeah,
he's going to be carried off by the devil.
Yeah.
We get this in moral plays a bit, though, don't we? Don't vices carry people off?
Well, we have, but I mean, it's like, didn't we have that in Like Will to Like? But the vice was being, if he's going off with the devil, that's his master anyway. The vice was going, it was the apprentice to Satan. So it's not really the same sort of thing as here, where it's like this poor bugger is sort of not quite damned, but it's not very positive at the end.
I was thinking of when I said St. Paul earlier, I got that wrong. I did check it. Fulda said in his heart there's no God is Psalms, but does Paul say we are fools for Christ's sake? You know, there is a kind of a theological strand which says, look, just don't try and work it out. Your whole sort of intelligence is just not up to the task. You are like a fool. And here we have, you know, that would fit, if you like, with. It turns out Moros is an everyman figure, but just not one that we've been used to from the moral plays. It's just basically follow the rules, don't step off the path, you know.
Stay in your lane, yeah.
Inexorably, this is what will happen, you know. And fortune is just kind of ephemeral and temporary, and it's all part of God's gag or Satan's gag.
But he has no agency. I mean, I feel it's not fair to make this send this person off with a devil on the back of the devil when he doesn't seem to have any real control over his life at all. Not the way the play presents it.
But as you say, you know, it's predestined. It's determined. You know, humanity is fallen and corrupt, and the crooked thing, and that's it. You've just got to accept it.
There's something, I think it's quite early in the bit we read, I think when Fortune comes on and asks if the others are Moros's qualities.
Yes.
And I wonder if that means that these are just all aspects of his personality that he's let carry him the wrong way.
Sort of psychodrama thing.
Yeah, I think that's right. But it's interesting at the end that, you know, even though you've got discipline there, and even though you've got discipline repeating this, you know, scire and sapere, the whole idea of like education, like a schoolboy education, is kind of gone out of the window. It's something else. Something else is being meant here by knowledge and learning and so on.
Yeah.
It's not suddenly, I thought at the beginning when we first started to do this yesterday that this was more about, you know, the value of school learning, but I don't think it is. It doesn't seem to turn out that way anyway.
It's a huge metaphor, isn't it?
Go on, students. For what? Just like knowledge.
Yeah, well, and school is about discipline. That's the problem. You know, the knowledge is a sort of byproduct of being disciplined.
Right. And hence the being beaten and
so that's why the schoolboy is an appropriate kind of figure for that.
Right.
But I mean, going back to the meta thing, you know, the whole thing about the coming on with different beards and seeming to grow older, but and so the play seems to suggest that he's actually living his entire lifespan, but he's sort of at the same time not, because it's such a thin theatrical device, and that
the whole thing is
a joke on him.
I was asleep when all this happened as well, which crops up again and again, doesn't it? This kind of, you know, this is a trick being played on him, Pete. But with the moral play, you know, you have the false friends, don't you? But here, there's this kind of, Ruth was saying, this is weird sort of topsy-turvy thing. They're not the false friends. He's just acquired some servants. He's acquired social status. He's you know, busily going around kind of planning what livery they're all going to wear, you know. And it's just a cruel joke. You know, he's actually not only is he, you know, got friends and got people who defend him, but he's actually kind of been socially elevated, and that's all just part of the con. He can't do that. You know?
But he's not redeemed at all, is he? He's just, you know, hey, I'm off with the devil, and there's no redemption. This is a very unredemptive play.
Yeah.
It's like 1984. You know, it's just like.
I was thinking more Brazil, actually. It's sort of that I expect Michael Palin at the end. He's trapped in this machine, and the joke is on him all the way through. And it's you know, they enter with a terrible visage, and you know, it's and if it is that you know, he thinks he's asleep, he's in a dream, and he's given confusion at the end. I mean, there's something really disturbing about that. And if it's following the age thing, then maybe it's a sort of dementia quality of, if it's following that route, or if it is that he's actually still a child and it's all a dream and this is some lesson he's actually being packed off to bed, which then starts feeling very Taming of a Shrew. A shrew, because Taming of a Shrew has the opening and close. I'm not using a different article. That play opens and closes with the servants are pretend he's in a household. And I was sort of really leaping on this, actually going, well, this feels very similar elements of this. And if that's the game, and that actually he's not going to be taken away by a devil, he's just actually being packed to bed, sort of redeems it a bit. But then it also is a bit of a cop-out. It was a dream all along.
It's so contemporary, isn't it? You know, it's there in potential in that sort of element of Christianity, that this everything about what our senses tell us is deception. We're kind of in the matrix, you know, and we need to kind of wake up out of it. But it just feels so close to the way we think of things now, but perhaps in a secular way. And yet you've got performance skills. You know, that it's all about kind of, you know, early on it's working the audience, it's getting people to laugh, it's having all these comedy shticks and routines. You know, and this is normally thought of as you know, we normally think of that as a kind of endearing thing, as a thing where, you know, if you're working the audience, if you're talking to the audience, you know, they're kind of on side with you. And yet the play doesn't let you stop with that or rest with that, you know. So some of the cliches we've got about sort of what intimacy and comedy do in early modern performance, are kind of brutally reappraised here, it seems to me. It does pull the rug out from under the way you think of certain kinds of performances happening.
Yeah, it's almost accidental dragging to hell of an unfortunate clown. It's an accidental death of an anarchist, kind of pulling apart of form and humour that moves in one direction then pulls you in another, and you don't comedy being used as a weapon actually.
I bet if you were reading what people have written about this, they'd say it's incoherent, but to me it feels experimental.
Yeah.
Back to the point when we were making yesterday, that if you know your kind of moral play, this is twist after twist on that. It's actually sort of avant-garde in terms of what we've been, the kind of form that we've been led to expect and understand.
And it's interesting. It's within years of King Darius, which is one that left us with so many other questions. That King Darius is sort of waiting for Godot meets the morality play. The play only really falls apart when King Darius actually turns up and suddenly a plot arrives. It's a great disappointment in otherwise a fascinating play.
I was really interested because actually I was all the characters bar Crueltie, I could sort of see where their names came from until Stephen was talking about what Crueltie does, and then it sort of makes sense. But what he says didn't feel particularly cruel. He was just a really interesting character that sort of popped up. But yeah, a very interesting play. It sort of ended up not where I thought it would, but I'm not disappointed by where it's ended up because it's sort of where I thought it would be by the end of yesterday. And yeah, great play, very interesting, lots of potential to work on.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an interesting verse form as well. I mean, this, it's like it's 4 stress lines, is that right? And it's A B A B. It's an interesting pattern, and quite a feat for the playwright to have kept up that level of rhyme. I mean, it's quite something.
It's 4 stresses. Seems to be fairly consistently. He said, counting on his fingers.
Don't worry, I haven't done a count either.
No.
I just know that it's not, the famous iambic, duck sound. It's not iambic pentameter for sure.
It's sort of, it's more so it's 4.5. It's quite interesting. But yeah, I think there's an awful lot of experiment going on, or seems to be going on. We haven't quite done enough plays from the 1560s to really make any kind of absolute pronouncements on it. But they are very, very odd formally. I mean, their earlier plays are much more straightforward. That doesn't mean they're not playful and interesting.
But it's interesting to think that at the time that this was, if this was written 1569, you seem to think that it might have been earlier than that, or slightly earlier in the decade. But say the York mystery plays are still being played up until 1570 or something. And there's a theory that the biblical cycle play, there's a theory that those stopped being played because they've gone out of fashion. And if this represents some kind of fashion, then you can see why. That there's a kind of complexity here. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we've got so many forms happening at the same time. I think the end of the biblical dramas as we knew it is there are so many things playing on that change. Old-fashionedness is perhaps an element to that, but then some people like old-fashionedness. It's a question of how you market it. as later playhouses will make a virtue of old-fashionedness. Actually, that will be their shtick.
Is Richard Jones? Is he the Richard Jones who publishes Tamburlaine?
I don't know, but I can find out in a second.
I was just thinking. I've just gone back to the beginning because I'd completely forgotten the beginning, and the title page says "very merry and pithy comedy, a mirror very necessary for youth, especially for such as are like to come to dignity and promotion."
Does suggest Richard Jones? He could very well be the same printer. The Richard Jones for Tamburlaine.
Because there is a theory that Richard Jones is the guy who excises the clown stuff from Tamburlaine. It's not actually, it's not the company or anybody. He's and there's that sort of prefatory material for Tamburlaine.
Yes, he does say make that in the preface. This meat doesn't. Unmeet for the matter. Though happily have been in some vain conceit and fondling.
Or it was the printer who puts that stuff at the beginning, or whether it's wager, as it were. It might just.
It's a good question. I mean, merry and pithy comedy. I think we've got in several title pages. I think there's that's almost a standard bump that comes out in the 1560s. Actually, is that's your marketing gimmick. Okay. Whether it's by the printer or wager, I don't know.
You're kind of desperate for a coherency of frame. But it just feels like, sort of one of those performance pieces where a load of very, very aware contemporary actors just keep whipping the rug out from under you.
There does seem to be, I don't know who's the audience for this either. I know we'll never find out, but this does seem to me to be very much a man's world and a man's, it's all about them, there isn't very much. One wonders how women in the audience would have responded to this. I certainly don't know.
Yeah, well, the female character is not exactly a great representation.
No.
Fortune is female too.
So say again.
Fortune is female.
Fortune.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I've definitely got a sense of how it could work today, but it's saying that you'd workshop. It's all in rehearsal, playing around, clowning games. I'd almost say, look, we wouldn't do this per se. This would be the starting point, and that it might undergo some revision, because I like the idea almost that there's some sort of strange, ungodly experiment going on with a clown, and that everybody's in lab coats, and that it's just sort of as a way of looking at it, that it's all a cruel experiment. Might work, because otherwise it's all context driven.
Yeah, and you have to share the beliefs of the kind of authority figures at the end, ultimately.
And I do want to kind of step aside from that, because, no.
Discipline and punish.
Yeah.
Although discipline, some people pay good money now.
Oh, okay, full dominatrix if you stay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we're definitely going in. Well, it is a mirror, very necessary, especially for those who are like to come to dignity and promotion, who I think are primarily the clientele for such services. So
I'm sorry, I couldn't speak the words, whatever it was about sodomy. It was like, oh my goodness, this was a bit uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, if we get around to doing 3 laws, there's an important bit of historical context for that one, because that one's obsessed with sodomy.
Oh, nice, cool. Put me down. No, fascinating play.
Yeah. Okay, final thoughts from the room. Wow, well, I'd lost track of time. I apologise. Anyone got any burning final hot takes to throw in?
I basically feel like the astronaut in 2001 with this play, you know. Sort
of. I see stars. Okay, well, on that note, much to chew on here. Much to enjoy, much to condemn, much to adjust, much to play with. It's been a really fascinating couple of days, and let's see what comes up in the coming weeks. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye.